Hello, and welcome to Pleasantview. My name is Sissy, and today we're going behind the scenes in my new Pleasantview save file that I'll be sharing right here on YouTube. We're here in the Dreamer household, where Darren and Dirk Dreamer live. First, I'm going to give you a tour of the house, which looks a bit different than what you may be used to if you've ever played Pleasantview. I'll be sure to note a few key mod items I've added for gameplay enhancement. We'll also take a look at both of the Sims, their makeovers with my defaults in CC, their traits, turn-ons, lifetime wants, and so forth. Let's get started. First things first, I'm using a version of Pleasantview from Mod The Sims called New Pleasantview, which has been renovated using items from all of the expansion packs, but is completely CC free. I'll be adding my own spin on things once we start playing, but I love downloading CC free lots and neighborhoods because it just makes everything compatible with what I already have, and then I can renovate to my liking. Let's take a look at the kitchen. So it's pretty bare. This family doesn't have a lot of money, so even though the house looks different, there's not a lot of decorations, especially downstairs. So you can see here there's a living room with the open kitchen and dining, and in the back here by the stairs there's a small little bathroom with a shower. The other thing we have downstairs is Dirk's bedroom. In the original Pleasantview, Dirk's bedroom was also downstairs, so this makes a lot of sense. So Dirk, of course, has a computer. The house is very blue, that's the Dreamer's color. And then this door just goes out to the back porch patio where they have a grill. The creator of this neighborhood, or the person who did all the renovations, did give them a pool. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it or not, because it does add a lot of value to the house, which I'm not sure the Dreamers would have. But also, Darren's in his second half of adulthood, and he worked in a career, he was married, so, you know, just because they don't have a lot of money now doesn't mean that they weren't able to afford a nicer house before. Let's go upstairs. So when you come upstairs, the landing, they have a dartboard, a desk, and of course painting easels for Darren. 2 desks actually. So over here they have a bathroom with a tub. There's a little nook over here, and then this is Darren's bedroom. There are a lot of bookshelves in this house. Not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna sell some of those to pay the bills, just because there's a lot of them. Oops. I forgot to mention that on the second floor they also have a small balcony which has a telescope. Some things that I've added to the house include a mailbox shelf, a calendar so that we get holiday notification pop-ups, several laundry hampers so that laundry generates on the lot, and a utility box so that the electricity functions with my electricity mod. This household obviously starts off with several piles of bills to pay as well. And they only have 646 simoleons, so I'm not sure if they'll be able to pay those, but I guess we'll see the first day that we play them. Now, let's take a look at the Dreamer boys. First, let's take a look at Darren and his outfits. Here's Darren close up with his makeover. I changed his glasses, gave him some earrings, longer hair, and his main outfit is a nod to his artistic abilities and interests. Now let's take a look at Dirk and his outfits and makeover. Here's Dirk with his makeover. You can see his bright blue eyes look amazing. Everything looks better with eyelashes. So now let's take a look at Dirk. I think he looks very similar to the original Dirk in the base game Pleasantview, just a little updated with some custom clothing, some different hairstyles, and just an enhanced version of himself. While I have Dirk selected, let's take a look at his traits. So for Dirk, his favorite color is purple. He's a perfectionist. His favorite music is college rock. He's also a loner, a computer whiz, and an avant-garde. I think this speaks to the fact that he's raised by a single father who is very artistic and dreamery. Dirk is a fortune sim and wants to get a job at the beginning of the game, so perfectionist suits him very well, as does Computer Whiz, considering he's very mechanical oriented. Dirk also has the Watcher Book of Faith in his inventory, as do most sims, to show that he's a religious sim. Let's take a look at Darren's traits. Darren's favorite color is obviously blue. He's nurturing, absent-minded, artistic. His favorite music is indie wave. He's a vegetarian, and he's over-emotional. Now, artistic is definitely a Darren trait, but I also gave him absent-minded because I wanted to give it to somebody, and I have in my head that since Darlene died in a fire, maybe her daydreamy, artistic husband absent-mindedly left the stove on or something like that, and that's what led to her death. He may or may not know this. I just thought it was fun to give him this trait of all the playable sims with that headcanon of mine. Darren also has a job stoppinator in his inventory because I did give him a job, which I'll show you in a second. And he also, of course, has the Watcher Book of Faith to show that he's a religious sim. Now, the job stoppinator I gave to Darren because he's the visual arts teacher at our local school. He works on Wednesdays, teaching the children painting and pottery and other such visual arts as their elective. As a knowledge sim, if Darren didn't have a job, he would often roll the want to get a job, and I didn't think that that suited him very well. So I think this is the perfect job for him. And of course, since he's an elective teacher, I don't want him to get promoted, because in this custom career, the first 5 levels are simply the elective teachers for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Now, you may be wondering why I gave Darren the nurturing trait, considering he's a single parent. He does have a decent relationship with Dirk, but it's not like they're best friends, and he's a knowledge sim. Well, when I ran my secondary aspiration calculator for Darren, since he's old enough to have a secondary aspiration, he actually came up with a secondary aspiration of family. This is a calculator that I made myself that I've been using for years. I'm using it for all of the pre-made sims, although since this is the first time I'm playing with traits, I may revise it somewhat to include traits in some way for calculating secondary and primary aspirations. I do have a calculator for both that I made myself. It includes a lot of weird things that other people may not think are important, such as birth order and things of that nature. So for Darren, because he's not that work-oriented, I didn't give him any of the work tree. I did give him a secondary aspiration of family, but I didn't give him any more of that tree because Grandma's Comfort Soup is not a vegetarian meal. He is a vegetarian. That may sound weird to say that it's not a vegetarian meal, but I actually play with an ingredients mod. So Sims will need to have ingredients in their fridge in order to cook certain meals, and Sims who are vegetarians won't autonomously or won't even have the option to cook non-vegetarian options. Grandma's Comfort Soup requires the ingredient of meat, so it's not something that vegetarian Sims usually make. However, based on his lifetime want, which I'll show you in a minute, the knowledge tree made a lot of sense for him. At least the first few. I did give him the summon UFOs at the top of the knowledge tree because as a secondary family, I wouldn't be opposed to him having another child or 2. And I'm all for alien babies. The second reward in the knowledge tree is impart knowledge, which allows Sims in the talk menu to teach other Sims skills and such. Sims can also ask them to teach them about skills. And this is what made a lot of sense for Darren. Let's take a look at his lifetime want for me to tell you why. Darren's lifetime want is to spend 100 hours teaching others. He wants to impart knowledge on these Sims, he wants to instruct Sims in their hobbies, things like that. You can also work towards these hours using some of the lessons at career rewards and homework and things like that. So I thought giving him the impart knowledge aspiration reward would be really useful for him getting to this 100 hours. He is already halfway through his adult life stage, so unlike maybe a teenager who first gets this lifetime want, Darren doesn't have as much time to get these 100 hours. In addition, he's gonna have to spend at least some of his time earning some money to pay all these bills. And Dirk will be going off to college very soon, so he doesn't have a lot of time to spend with Dirk teaching him. He's gonna have to find another way. Maybe he'll do that through his job at the local school. Dirk has a very different lifetime want. Dirk's lifetime want is to repair 100 objects. and in order to repair things in The Sims, you kind of have to break them. So it'll be easy for him to break some of the cheap things around his house, but otherwise he's going to have to go out looking for things to repair. I'm not entirely sure how we're going to do this, but we're going to try. Now, because of his lifetime want, I gave Dirk the first 2 rewards in the needs tree, which will help him with his comfort and his hygiene, because I imagine that repairing things is not very comfortable or hygienic. And I also gave him the first 2 of the fortune tree. He's a fortune sim, and even though he doesn't have a work-related lifetime want, the first reward in the fortune tree, skilled negotiator, I find useful for just about any sim. And of course, the second reward in the fortune tree also impacts comfort. You may notice that Dirk has a secondary aspiration. Typically, I don't give any Sims a secondary aspiration unless they get a random occurrence for one or they're halfway through their adult lifespan. Dirk is the singular exception to that in this neighborhood. And the reason that I gave Dirk a secondary knowledge aspiration is because Dirk actually has a hidden knowledge aspiration token. And because he has that token, I wanted to give him this secondary aspiration pretty much so that I don't forget. The options to me are give it to him now, or when it's time for him to get a secondary aspiration halfway through his adult life, to remember that he has this and not use my calculator. I thought it would just be easier and a little bit more fun to give him the secondary knowledge aspiration now in his teenagehood and see how that impacts his life. And finally, let's take a look at our Sims turn-ons and turn-offs. Dirk's turn-ons are red hair, rebellious, and his turn-off is brown hair. You can see that if he likes red-haired, rebellious Sims, why he might be attracted to Lilith Pleasant. For Darren, his turn-ons are undead, daydreamer, and his turn-off is foodie. I don't know that these necessarily suit Darren, but I wanted to use a variety of turn-ons and turn-offs throughout the neighborhood, and as a knowledge sim, undead seems cool. He's a daydreamer, so maybe he likes daydreamers, and a turn-off of foodie maybe makes sense for someone who doesn't have a lot of spare cash to go out to restaurants, and who also has a limited diet because he's a vegetarian. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed getting to know the Dreamers. We'll be back with them to play their first day in Pleasantview very soon. Be sure to subscribe to see what life has in store for them. Until we meet again, take care.